Welcome to Midnight Movie Talk here on this Tuesday night, as we have a very special show tonight because we've had a criminal activity perpetrated by India. I mean, I cannot even believe what has happened here, as India has chosen something other than RRR to be its Oscars submission for Oscars 2023. Let's bring in awardsace.com, my website, of course, if you want to get up to date on all the Oscar news of the day, or you want to find out who's in the running for whatever category it is, go to awardsace.com. So here we go. Right now, I pop it up and I'm going to go straight down inside of international feature. Okay, so here are all the contenders that are currently in. Now, to be listed here, you have to be officially submitted by your country. So we roll down and then we find this right here, Last Film Show. That is India's submission for Oscars 2023. It is not Triple R. Now, listen, when you look at RRR, you're talking about a phenomenon. It's very rare that we have an international feature that is so widely seen, that has the box office domestically here in the United States that RRR has. And yet, all of that was bypassed for another film. Let's bring in another aspect of this, and this is what's even crazier as I pull this up. Look at this. So this is the news from the Indian Express, from the chairman of the committee that decided what they were going to submit. And listen to this. It was unanimous, apparently. They went with, as you see here, Last Film Show, which if you just look at the poster, I'm like, what am I looking at? Cinema Paradiso? Is that what this is? I mean, it essentially sure as hell looks like it. But I can't believe that this is what India has done. The jury of 17, quote, diverse voices from the film industry went with Last Film Show over RRR. Now, if you have not seen RRR, let me explain something to you. If you've not seen it, you need to see it, okay? That's the first thing. Second thing is that this is a worldwide phenomenon. This is a film that has traveled almost everywhere across the globe and done solid numbers and has broken through the chatter. I mean, it's very hard these days to get any film to break through the noise, right? We have so many things in this world these days to get you distracted. And RRR somehow managed to rise above all that and become visible and capture the zeitgeist. So when you're picking a film for the Oscars and you're India, you're sitting there going, okay, what's a film that'll give us a really good shot to win? Because ultimately, isn't that what you really want to do? You want to win Oscar. I mean, why wouldn't you? And yet, here we are, not going with RRR. It makes no sense to me. Let me lay it out for you like this. It would be like the United States selecting a small niche art house film as our submission for another country's Oscars instead of Top Gun Maverick. Can you even imagine what would happen? You're like, do you want to win? If you want to win, you submit Top Gun Maverick. And if India wanted to win, you submit RRR. And they have a history of this. They have done this numerous times where there's a film sitting there that is the perfect fit for their submission, and yet, no, instead, we get option B. And it was unanimous. It makes no sense to me. Now, the other aspect of this, and I'm going to get into comments because I want to get in, there's some politics here, and we need to talk about that as well because this is emblematic of film evaluation and film criticism as a whole, okay? And let me explain how. We are losing our way when it comes to evaluating film and what's the best film that works for the most number of people, okay? So here's the situation. When you're looking at RRR, you're looking at a film that is a very large percentage of the pie. And so is a Top Gun Maverick. So if you're trying to win awards, then you would select a film that is going to appeal to the largest number of people and has been seen by the largest number of people, which in India's case is RRR. And again, it just comes down to deciding what is the best film for you to win. And in this case, they didn't do it. I don't understand the politics of it. I don't even want to get into politics because there shouldn't be politics. Isn't film ultimately just about what is the best thing? What's the best overall product? It's not about any of the politics involved. It shouldn't be. How many times, guys? I'm going to do it again. Okay, we've only done it a million times here on MMT. Whatever happens behind the camera means nothing in film. The only thing that matters is the finished product up on the screen. That's it. Nothing else. The pedigree of the stars, of the director, the studio, whatever you want to throw out there, it doesn't matter. And in this case, you really screwed up, India. You had RRR sitting there for you to select. Now, there is some chatter about, well, it could still get in for the Oscars if, these things happen. But let me explain why that's probably not gonna happen. Let's pull up Variety's article about this very thing right here. RRR snubbed for international feature, but yet they're gonna go ahead and submit it for Best Picture and for cinematography and actor for both of the leads, N.T. Rama and Ram Charan. Okay, those two for sure. Ram, in my estimation, for certain. I mean, he is the heart and soul of RRR. And then you have original song, original score. But the reality is this, guys, okay? Yes, they're going to submit it for Best Picture, blah, 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 blah. But here's the reality, is that if you don't land your international feature selection and you don't get that submission, then your chances of getting a Best Picture nomination are extremely low. Now, if you end up getting the international feature submission and nomination, then you have a much better shot, as we've seen over the years, of films that rise up from international feature to win Parasite, to win Oscar, okay? Best Picture. Parasite, you look at a Cold War that got director in, was an international feature. You look last year, or the one with Madsen, the guys who all got drunk, forgetting the name of it right now. That is another film that crossed over, right? So when you get to that, at least you're on the map. So you're visible because you already have a nomination for international feature. Then you can carry that into Best Picture. You don't have that. And that's a major problem. Let's get into the comments here tonight. And let's figure out exactly what's going on. And I want you to educate me about the politics of this, because I don't care about the politics because it doesn't matter. But I know they're politics because the world, unfortunately, works on politics instead of merit. Merit is everything. Satvik, RRR may not know it's original, and that's okay, because every movie borrows off each other, no question. The movie works because the energy it's given by the actors, specifically the two main leads. No question whatsoever. And the amount of love and care that was given to the making of the movie. It's S.S. Rajamouli, I believe, the director, one of the few filmmakers who knows how to create a satisfying story. It is absolutely an audience pleaser, right? So I saw this film late in the cycle, about 2 months ago now. But that was late. It came out back in March, and it was still showing here in select theaters around Los Angeles, a couple showtimes a day. So I went over to see it in North Hollywood, and I was frankly blown away by it. I mean, certainly the ambition of the film. Any film that is highly ambitious and tries to do so much like RRR does is going to be a winner in my book 99% out of 100 times. I mean, it's going to be way up there. And I think you got to love the scene, obviously, when they're breaking in and the truck rolls over, and here comes the entire zoo, the menagerie of creatures flying out. I mean, that kind of stuff is just audacious, insane, and mega ambitious, and that'll always win for me. So yeah, all of that is absolutely accurate, Satvik. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. What's the reasoning that India gives for doing this that I know makes no sense to them, but makes sense to them? Okay, so the reasoning is this: they think that Last Picture Show, or Last Film Show, it is more representative. It's more important to India and their transition from theatrical to digital, or, celluloid to digital, whatever that is. Okay. I haven't seen the film. Very few people have, but they think it's a more important film, so they're going to go ahead and submit that. But that's nice that you do think that way, but ultimately you can't have something like this, a sensation like RRR, there for the taking and shove it to the side. That's very poor decision making by India. I don't care what the other film is. When you have a phenomenon in play, you select the phenomenon. Again, it is very much like the U.S. selecting a tiny niche art house film. Name a film that's niche, that's small. A24, not everything everywhere, like a super small A24 film that no one has seen, but yet is solid. Pick that. And then select that as your submission versus Top Gun Maverick. I mean, you have to pick Top Gun Maverick. And in this case, India had to pick RRR, but they didn't. And that's why we're doing a stream tonight, because it makes no sense. In politics, F politics, right? I mean, straight up. I mean, politics really have no business in my world. I don't want to even be involved in politics because it's all about merit for me. It always has been. It always will be. You guys know that. I mean, that's why last night when I come out of Amsterdam, I'm like, hey, it's David O. Russell. It's got to be good. It's David O. Russell. It's bad. Amsterdam is borderline, brutally bad. Unwatchable. Drew Ryan, there's a big divide in Indian cinema. There's two factions, okay, which I hear, Bollywood and South Indian cinema. People of India generally hate Bollywood because it doesn't represent their culture accurately. See, this is what I'm talking about, politics. This is politics. This is exactly what you just laid out there, Drew. This is two factions and politics. Hello, politics, two factions, Democrat, Republican, wherever you are in the world, two parties. Man, it's merit. That's why I say be neutral. Be centrist. Don't be left or right. Be a centrist and value everything as it has merit. It doesn't matter who produced it or whatever. I mean, it's just merit. It's always merit. Exactly. Plus, a lot of producers and directors in Bollywood are a bunch of douches. Oh, okay. So they might be worse than Hollywood celebrities. There's that too. Okay. There's certainly some of that. But I think if you're trying to win, which is what India should be trying to do here, you just can't leave RRR on the sidelines. It's a massive mistake. It's one of the biggest blunders that I can recall. And you guys, again, running an awards website, knowing that there have been some incredible mistakes made over the past, let's just go 5 years and say things like, the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, not getting a nomination. Apollo 11 documentary, same thing, documentary, not getting a nomination. The Bowie documentary this year, Moon Age Daydream, not getting it. We'll see if it doesn't. When things like that happen, you just go, wait, what? Ad Astra not getting a Best Picture. What? Like, I don't care if it wasn't supposed to happen. That is, you talk about valuing art, then you're going to select Ad Astra. So, no, politics, get the hell out of here. I only want to have merit. Merit. Jay, good evening to you. India is a much different environment than U.S. Language is a major one, plus the Bollywood, South Indian dynamic. I understand there is, again, the politics, but still, let's just come around to this. Even if you're politically two different factions, you still want to select the film that is going to give you the best chance to win. I would. If I'm in the jury, I'm going to say, listen, I know we like Last Film Show, but do we want to win this? Because if we do, I think RRR is a sensation worldwide. And as much as we value Last Film Show, we're sitting here with our own Top Gun Maverick in RRR. Let's submit that, because there's a very good chance that not only are we going to get nominated, we might win Best International Feature. Now, you could not even be nominated because you picked Last Film Show. But it was the right thing to do. Okay, all right, but you didn't get nominated. Let's see if that happens. If that does not get a nomination, let's say that India doesn't even make the short list. I think it probably will, just based on what kind of publicity this has generated today. The heat. It's got to at least make the short list. But at that point, if it doesn't get a nomination, then my God, watch out. Martin R. from the Indian Express, FFI president, clarified, Cielo Show or Last Film Show was unanimously chosen. Exactly. That's what I said at the top of the stream. 17. All 17 jury members said that they all went with Last Film Show, which is like, okay, but At that point, again, you're telling me that not one person stood up in the room and said, we might want to consider RRR, like seriously consider RRR. And if you're one of the people in that room, one of the 17, and you're not making an argument for RRR, at least one of the votes out of 17 goes to RR. Who is this? What we all? Is this groupthink? This is hive mind thinking when it comes to our film that we're going to submit. Let's just be a hive mind. You say that it's the best film, so therefore we all agree unanimously it is the best film of the year. Let's go ahead and submit it. Come on. No. I mean, you got to at least have one person stand up and say, what are we doing here? Give me RRR. If Parasite and other critically acclaimed foreign films can get physical releases, then RRR should as well. I would agree 100% that it needs to get a physical release. I'm really surprised. Here's the thing. We know theatrically that it got a release here in the United States. I mean, it played at AMC. I believe it played at Regal. And I know it's still playing, again, in theaters across Los Angeles and the select show times, at the Lamley Theaters here in Los Angeles, a small art house chain here. And they have on the weekends, maybe one showing or, late at night, one showing, because they're having people show up and there's this audience participation aspect to RRR, which I got to see it with a couple of 90-year-olds. So there was no audience participation when I watched it. But I can imagine a theater full of people, as soon as the first song breaks out and they're all doing their choreographed dance, God knows how much energy that took to shoot. When they're doing that, then everyone in the crowd's like, well, let's go, let's do this. So I need to see it again with a crowd. But it's just such a letdown because I was looking forward to an award season with RRR in the running for international feature, and then using that as your building block to build to best picture possibility. Now you don't have that block. The cornerstone isn't there for RRR. So you building a best picture campaign is just been made infinitely harder by the fact that India said, we're going with last film show. That's the politics of it, right? If you don't land the first thing, it's harder to land the bigger thing. You got to land the smaller thing, then the big thing. That's how it goes. Ignore my duplicate is trying to correct my mistake. Oh, it's all good. Hey, we if I had to correct all my mistakes here on MMT, we'd just be rewinding every few seconds. Here we go. Let's try this again. That's why we do it live. Everyone else who does the edits, right? You just go, hey, that stuff. I mean, what are you doing here? How many takes are we doing? What that whole edit stuff. Come on, man. Just come out and shoot from the hip. And if you know your stuff, you should be able to do it. It's not like you have to be rehearsed or have to read it from a teleprompter. RRR was snubbed for Oscars today, and it looks like it might still have a chance at Best Picture. Have you ever seen people on YouTube? You can see, who does? Grace Randolph. Watch Grace Randolph. She's not looking at the camera. She's looking at a teleprompter, right here. That'd be like me going like this. Hey, guys, welcome to Midnight Movie Talk. So we're going to talk about RRR. You'd be like, where the hell are you looking, dude? There's the best moment in MMT history right there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. RRR is a great movie. It blends genres, masterful, no question. Really disappointed for India not to push the film. And that's the heart of tonight's show, is that it is, and it deserves plaudits for its ambition and for its cobbling together of genres that should never fit and mesh together. But yet when you watch it, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going with this. That scene on the bridge, right? He's swinging around with what the hell am I watching? And then I go, okay, I get it. Even the opening scene, where Ram's in there and he has to go outside of the prison, the prison. It's been a few months. And that scene's just crazy. And it was not CGI. Those were all extras. And it took forever to shoot that scene. I mean, if you haven't seen RRR, you must watch it, and you must watch it on a big screen. Don't watch it on Netflix because you're going to get the pan and scan or the cropped, whatever the hell. You need to go watch it at a theater. Would you be in favor of our Oscar International Committee evaluating the high-profile films of each country and selecting them instead of relying on country politics determining a film's chances? Martin, yes. And you know what? Put me in there. Right? Seriously, give me a like if you would vote for me to do that job. Because I would be the guy in there. I would be the guy in there going, I'm sorry, hold on. RRR. Why are we? This is a film that's a phenomenon worldwide. We need to acknowledge that in much the same way the Academy will acknowledge Top Gun Maverick. You wait until the nominations come out and you see Top Gun Maverick all over the place in so many categories because it's about valuing what it did for film, right? It brought people back to theaters, Top Gun Maverick. And in much the same way, RRR brought people back to cinemas in India, brought people back to cinemas here in the United States, here in Los Angeles. It killed it because we have a very large Indian population here. So it's done really well. That's why you need to acknowledge it and to submit it as your international feature. So I would love to do that job. Jonathan, we'll come back to that. I want to keep doing let's keep on RRR, and then the last few minutes here we'll get into everything else. Jay, good evening to you. Why do countries need to submit a film instead of the Academy just making their own nominees? It's just the way it's done. It's the process. But I would agree 100%. Both of the past comments, the last two, are exactly, they're in the same world. They are, why is the Academy not making the decisions like they do for Best Picture, like they do for every category, except for, obviously documentaries done by them. Every category is done except for international feature, which is by individual countries. It's just tradition, but ultimately I would rather have a situation where you have a jury of, let's say, 50 or 100 people, maybe it's more, and then they see every single international feature. And then you say to yourself, these are the best films. And that way you could have 2 from France, you could have 2 from India, you could have, one from various other countries. You could have multiple films from one country. We've seen that over the years. You go back and you look at just a few years ago with France. You had Les Mis. Okay, so that film was there instead of, the Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So France went with Les Miserables over Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And in that case, I'm with France. Les Mis is awesome. It is a very good film. Okay. It is gritty. It is now. It is in the middle of Paris, just in the strife. And Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I wanted to take a nap. I mean, it is just an incredibly dull film. And I know that, Eric, but it is. It just is. And look what happened also with Ammonite, right? The English language remake, essentially. Fell asleep, and it went nowhere for award season. So yeah, in that case, France got it right. But if we had a situation where you could pick multiple films from the same country, you would have Les Mis, and you'd also have Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Both of those in there. So yeah, it just makes no sense to me. It's politics. Matthews Mordecai. And India has nothing short of the Indian Oscar panel. Never consider South Indian films because most are North Indian, based on this year's suggestion, Shello Show or Last Film Show. Is it Gujari? Someone pronounced that for me. I sincerely apologize. But yes, but can we remove politics? Can we just get down to merit? Can we get down to what's the best film? That's all we're doing. That's all we want to do. We don't want to have the situation where we are saying the politics of a film are what we're going to honor here, not the product and the quality of the film. That's not how I'll ever do it. And if other people want to do it that way, I would suggest that you maybe devalue their voices, because at that point, you're not going for what is the best thing. You're going for what's the politically correct thing. And screw that. I mean, Siskel and Ebert had a wonderful video about that years ago. Search it up. Siskel and Ebert, political correctness, where Siskel basically says the death of a critic is trying to be liked, to trying to be politically correct. Roger Ebert echoes the same sentiments. They're back and forth just saying you can't want that. You have to just say the film is it. Anything else other than the final product of what's on the screen doesn't matter. And in this case, I haven't seen Last Film Show, but when you have a sensation like this, RRR, you have to select it. You just do. I don't care about the politics. Get them out of here. I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch RRR when it first came out because I thought it was going to be another generic Indian action movie. It was trying to rip off Marvel. Let's see, part 2. But after watching RRR came out streaming, I highly regretted skipping this one. One of the biggest surprises of the year for me. And that was me. I was waiting for it, right, to show up. I was sitting here waiting for the film to be back in theaters because there was a time when it disappeared. Then it got brought back by Lemley, and I went to see it. and it's still, I think you can find it in LA, but wherever you are, you can't. So you're gonna have to watch it on Netflix at this point. They're not gonna. I highly doubt we're gonna see another theatrical release of that outside of the major coastal cities. You know, the LAs, the New Yorks, maybe a Chicago, San Francisco. Those cities are gonna get that film, possibly if they have a re-release at some point. But other than that, you're just not going to get it, you know, fly over America, as we like to say. Silver lining, this rallies a lot of sympathy and more voters see the film. Get the cast out to screenings, campaign events, enough passion and proper awards campaigning help the film. Martin, good question. I'll be honest with you, man. It's very hard. It's going to be very difficult for RRR to get into the best picture conversation. It just is, okay? Because at the end of the day, there's still going to be a very large amount of Academy members that do not watch the film. They're going to say it's a 3-hour film. It's, you know, it's foreign. I'm not going to bother. And now we have had things happen over the years. Drive My Car. Yeah, obviously Parasite. Parasite was a sensation too, so it's a different situation. But I just don't see any real path for RRR to make it to Best Picture. There's just going to be too many other things in there. I mean, right now you're looking at films that are absolutely in. Let's do that. Let's go and say what films are 100% in for Best Picture. We have not done that. It's a perfect time to do it. Let's call up awardsace.com again, and I have my top key contenders in right now. Okay, I have Avatar, Way of Water. I was really on the border about that, but I'm going to put it in because of its success at the Oscars the year it came out, 09, 10. That had a ton of nominations and wins in the tech stuff, so I'm going to put it in right now. Babylon is in, no question about it. That's 2. Banshees of Inisherin, I have not seen yet, but I'm hearing great things. Also, it's McDonough. It's going to get a nomination more than likely, okay? Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I think that's virtually a lock based on the first Black Panther, based on the trailer, which I think is one of the best trailers, arguably one of the best trailers ever cut. I think the Wakanda Forever trailer is just lights out, okay? Elvis is a borderline film. I think it deserves to be there, but it could be out. But I have it right there. It's in contention. Empire of Light is going to be a contender for sure because you have Sam Mendes and you have Searchlight. Searchlight always does well when it comes to Oscars. Don't forget that. They also have Banshees. You have Fabelmans. That is a lock. That is in. That's Universal. That is Spielberg. That is in for director and for picture. There's no question. She Said is a borderline film, but remember, it's about Harvey Weinstein and it's a Universal film. As such, Universal gets films in. They have a very good awards department. I would say that is more than likely in, assuming it's solid. The Son, likely in. Hugh Jackman, obviously, is the sequel to The Father, which I love The Father. I can't wait to see The Son. Top Gun Maverick is in. The Whale with Brendan Fraser, I think that is in. And Women Talking, likely in. So right then, if I said a whole bunch of these that are pretty much in, you're already looking at least 10 films that are in, because we're getting 10 films, right? So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 13 films, okay? So RRR has to get above 3 of these films. And I just don't see it happening, okay? And there's going to be something else that creeps up. There always is something that creeps up at the Oscars. So, you know, if we scroll down, let's just scroll down a little bit and we look at some of the other films that, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Armageddon Time, I don't know. I'm hearing mixed things, but I'm hearing the people that like it really like it. Asteroid City might show up. We're waiting to find out if Asteroid City is going to be in. That is Wes Anderson. So if it is, it's Wes Anderson, maybe. Bones and All, possible. I think it's going to be certainly polarizing. Don't Worry, Darling, likely not, although I think it's a really solid film. Glass Onion could be in contention. I think that Whitney Houston biopic, assuming it's going to be decent, I mean, who knows? People love Whitney Houston. Nope, it's not going to happen. And then we look down here, maybe Tar. I think that's going to be too much for a lot of Oscar voters when it comes to Best Picture. Not Cate Blanchett is an actress, but White Noise, I'm hearing, is not great. I think Woman King could be in there. So when you look at that, guys, we're talking about a minimum right there, just 13 films that are in heavy contention for Best Picture, right? So RRR now has to get above 3 of those to get into that 10 spot. So that's a tough task, especially without an international feature. And because of that, I would say it's not going to happen. I would put heavy money on RRR not taking part in Oscars 2023 at any level, no category at all. That's what I would say. Put your money on that. And I know you guys I know you want it to happen. It's one thing to want it to happen, but it's another to be realistic and to analyze its true chances. Considering the track record of previous Indian blockbusters have not been really pleasing me. But again, yeah, you're talking about RR and how this film is better. It's really a great film. I mean, it's going to be one of my favorite films of the year just for the experience. But again, as a best picture for the Oscars, critics groups, I would think it's going to happen for quite a few, but not for best picture. Ken Murray, good evening to you. If you're familiar with the pitch meeting series here on YouTube, he did an RR pitch meeting video. I haven't seen it yet. That's how big RR is. He does Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter. I've heard, someone told me to watch this pitch meeting. I have not seen it, but if that's the case, this is what we're talking about. This is the sensation, this phenomenon. This is RR. It is now crossed over into the awareness, the consciousness of a ton of people that normally would have no idea what international feature was selected from any country. And now you have a film that is being talked about on all kinds of different channels, all kinds of different voices, and you leave it out. And that's the point of tonight's stream is what the hell are we doing here? Politics, get them out. Get politics out of your life. Make decisions based solely on the worthiness of the individual topic that you're discussing, not the political involvement of it. Just say to yourself, what makes the most sense? What do I in my core believe in, and then using those core beliefs, then this is how I come down on the topic. So that's why I say I'm not right, I'm not left, I'm in the center, because sometimes I come down hard left, sometimes hard right. It really just depends on what the topic is. It's not always like, oh, everything is this, because at that point you're tribal, you're hive mind, you're not individual. And you need to be an individual. In this world, you need to be an individual. I'm sorry. We need more of that. We need more individual thinking. It's probably why I'd totally get destroyed in politics. I'd get in there and they'd say, hey, Eric, we need you to vote in group with us. I'm like, screw that. I like how the Democrats are doing this. I'm not saying I'd be a Republican, but let's just pretend. And I'd be like, hey, I like how they're doing it. I'm going over here to vote. Democrat, hey, you know what? I like how the Republicans are doing this. I'm going to go over there. That's how I would do it. And they'd be like, wait, what are you? I'm like, not politically affiliated. Is that okay? Can we just base merit on how we vote? So the Golden Globes are back. All right, we can get into some other things. I think it's a good time to transition. We'll go just a little bit longer. Let me be honest with you guys, though. I'm tired. So we're going to go a little tighter on this. We'll go like another 10 minutes. Let's go 10-minute warning right now. Before we get into the next comment, I want to mention this. Go see Moon Age Daydream in IMAX. You have one more day to do it. Tomorrow's the last day. I'm almost positive that on Thursday, maybe in the morning you can watch it, but at night, those screens are going to Don't Worry Darling. So you have exactly less than 48 hours to go see Moon Age Daydream in IMAX, and I can't recommend it enough. I've seen it 3 times. It is one of the best experiences that you will have in a theater this year or any of the past numerous years. It is that high of a level of art that Brett Morgan has accomplished with David Bowie's life. And most importantly with that film, for me, it's about the ethos. It's about his very spiritual essenceness, the essence of him that you get in that film is captured in a way that is piercing. I mean, you will just feel what David Bowie stood for and how he lived his life, which is very much how I live my life. It's probably why I love the film, is that it's like, get out there and make every day count. Do not let one day go by where you didn't at least accomplish one thing, and always say yes instead of no, unless it's like, illegal, but usually say yes, because you never know what's going to happen when you say yes versus when you say no. You know what's going to happen. Nothing. Go see Moon Age Daydream. Between The Woman King and Blonde, what are your thoughts on movies revisiting history? Is there a point where it goes too far, Gavin? Let's say this. You go back in the history of cinema and you look at films that are based on a true story, and you see all kind of creative license taken by the director, by the screenwriter, to shape the film. I go back and I remember the film The Butler specifically, okay, because I really like The Butler. But when I came out of The Butler, I read some stuff and found out that apparently In The Butler, there's a huge part of the film that has to deal with his older son that's involved in some radical things, let's just say, at the time. And I found out, if I remember this correctly, the butler was a real person for all the presidents, but he didn't have an older son that did all these things. They literally created a character to make, here comes all the conflict via the son who never existed. So we've been doing this forever. I mean, that's like 10 years ago, but you go back, we can name a million films. So I think that you're going to have it happen. Films don't owe you being perfect. They don't have to be a documentary. I go back to The Last Showman or Greatest Showman. I like The Greatest Showman. Don't even get me started about Greatest Show. I think it's an incredibly entertaining film. But a lot of people are like, well, this isn't really how P.T. Barnum, it glamorizes P.T. Barnum. And I'm like, oh, you must be just absolute blast to hang out with on a Friday night. I'd love to hang out with you at a bar. If you're complaining about the accuracy of P.T. Barnum in The Greatest Showman, which is a family film with really strong songs and is really engaging performance by Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson, who is drop dead. I mean, one of the most beautiful women on planet Earth. Come on, man. What are we doing here? The film is to entertain, and that's the purpose of Greatest Showman, and that's why so many people loved it and bought that soundtrack. And This Is Me was such a huge song and should have won Oscar, is because it was everything, and that doesn't matter if it's historically accurate. This doesn't portray P.T. Barnum the way he should be. Like, oh, God. So, to answer your film, let it go, man. Let it happen. As long as you're not getting out of control, if you're adding things that are like never happened and they're really significant. Like, I haven't seen Blonde yet. I've seen Woman King. I'm not familiar. I don't know what the actual history of Woman King is, okay? But I'm just going to say that unless it's like something completely and utterly flipped that is insane, I think we have to just say allow creative license when it comes to these things. You're not watching a documentary. All right, 5-minute warning, 5 minutes, and then I'm going to crash. It's an over-the-top action film, and that's not what the Oscars are looking for in any stretch of the imagination. Alan Ng, stop being a party pooper here. But you're right. I mean, there's certainly a significant portion of these groups, these juries who sit around and say, this film is not worthy of our submission. It is too action-filled and too bombastic for us. We will select the film that is more sentimental and more... who talks like, first of all, God, does someone actually talk like that? But come on, man. Again, just like The Greatest Showman, fun as hell movie. And there's nothing wrong with over-the-top action films. And yes, over-the-top action films can be award films. All right. So, Alan, yes, you're right. Jay, there's also talk that Will Smith, Fuqua directed Emancipation will come out in December. No, the answer is no to that. Do not do that. If I'm Apple, do I have to go down to Culver City, to Apple headquarters here, the theater, the theatrical version, the studio, okay, Apple Plus, and say, listen, guys, take Emancipation and throw it into 2023. You need to have distance from the slap. We say it every single time. You got to have time away. And at this point, you can't bring out that film. Jay, if they do that, that's a huge mistake. I don't care how great the film is. You're now going to be still dealing in the absolute hurricane of Will Smith and the Oscar slap, especially going into next year's Oscars. Don't do it. If Apple does that, it's one of the worst decisions by its studio. If I have to, I will send an email tomorrow. I'll craft an email to my Apple contacts and say, do not do this. And please, here is my consulting fee. Gaurav, good evening to you. Is there any RR to get nominations at Golden Globes? It could happen. Now, they do their own international film, right? International feature, whatever they call it. It might be still foreign film for them. I forget at this point. But they're back. They could do it, which would be really funny, right? If they actually did that, and that'd be a smart move by the Golden Globes, because you would get a bunch of fans of the film involved in that. And don't think that's not part of how this whole thing works with awards. Okay, so last year you had Lady Gaga, right? Lady Gaga is in House of Gucci, and she's okay. She's fine. It's not like a bad performance, but it's also definitely not an awards like best performance of the year. I think New York Film Critics Circle gave her best actress. I'm like, really, guys, I know you want a virtue signal. I know you want to get the Gaga fans on board, but that's not a winner. Okay, that's just not a winning performance. But you know why that's done? You know why that's done. That's done for publicity. That's done ultimately for, hey, look, the New York Film Critics Circle gave it to Lady Gaga. So, whoa, look, people are talking about us. There's a big element of that. And you talk to anybody at awards, they will purposely select someone or something that will generate attention for them. Whereas I would simply say this, at the end of the day, no matter what the decision is, and I run Sunset Circle with a very smart group of people, there will never be a time where we say, we're going to just give it to this person because of the publicity. It will have to be, now, if the publicity comes from it, that's one thing. But if you believe in your heart that it's the best performance or best film, then that's all that matters. Like Austin Butler. Okay, so if Austin Butler should win Best Actor, he deserves it. So if that creates publicity, so be it, because he deserves it. And I think when you look at Lady Gaga and House of Gucci, you just, it's not a winning performance. It's just not. But again, these are decisions made because it brings a ton of spotlight onto you and publicity onto your group. And that is how the game's played. I hate playing it like that. I would never want to do that because it's false, right? It's not real. It's you trying to do something versus just being authentic. You mentioned you're a Libra. I'm 100% Libra. All right, we're almost done. This might be the last question. Birthday's around the corner. It really is. Keep an eye on your AMC A-list rewards section. It's coming. It's coming. I got it. It's coming soon. The birthday's around the corner. And at this point, I don't really like to celebrate them anymore. But I will absolutely take, I don't know about the popcorn, because I'm kind of a fitness wacko when it comes to healthy food. But as far as the diet, Mountain Dew Zero, my bad, it's not, it's Coke products. Mellow Yellow Zero, I will absolutely drink the shit out of that. The director of Amsterdam knows and saw your reviews. Did you, Omega Swipe, did you send it to, oh God. So we sent the review of Amsterdam to David O. Russell. Is that what happened? Oh my God. Don't get me started on Amsterdam. It is absolutely real. I mean, you talk about misfires. Go back and watch that stream. That's going to do it for tonight. We're back Thursday. Listen, Thursday night's going to be super fun because it's going to be your chance, your reaction to a film that I think is going to go way better in audience score than it is on critic score. Don't worry, darling. Thursday night discussion here, midnight movie talk, 9 o'clock. I'm telling you right now, by the way, tonight's kit, Armenia Bielenfeld, sorry, my bad. This is Bundesliga. I've now officially dug into every single league in the entire world. When we get to this on Thursday, I want you guys to see the film and come here with serious takes about Don't Worry, Darling, and how you're going to see the film I saw. You're going to say 33% or whatever the number is now on Rotten Tomatoes. What are we doing here? Critics, are we evaluating the film? Are we evaluating the off-the-field shit? Which one are we doing here? Are we looking at the film? Or are we looking at, look at the drama off the field? Because we don't do that. We never do that. We only look at the film. I'll see you Thursday night. MMT is out tonight. Thank you for joining us. Good night.